What's going on, family? It's Brother Coasty here at IALLG.com, and we're always building bridges within to explore the world without. Today's topic is a very important one, and it's one that a lot of people tend to shy away from doing. It's quitting, or we call it turning around. Either way, you stopping. You're learning to stop. Okay? People come to me all the time, wanting my perspective, wanting my opinion, wanting this how to find balance, all these different things. And I'm gonna give you all my secret today. The secret is learning when to quit, learning when to stop. So let me break that down for you. Because I know a lot of times, we always hear, winners never quit and quitters never win, blah, 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 blah. That's a bunch of bull. I'm telling you, it's a whole bunch of bull. You have to learn when to quit. You got to learn when to stop going down the wrong road. Like, family, look, no matter how much you want something, sometimes it's not for you. And you can keep going for it, but you'll realize that you waste time, energy, effort, and you can't get any of those things back. You have to learn when to quit. You got to learn when to stop. You got to learn when to turn around, and don't be ruled by your ego. That's a big one right there, family. Your ego will stop you from getting where you need to go because it'll say, no, I want to go this way, even though you clearly aren't making progress at all. In fact, you're fighting to even stay consistent and be disciplined in that route. Now, in order to get to this level of discernment between when to keep going and when to just be persistent and when to just turn it around and pack it on home, you got to always, as I say, tap into self. You have to tap into yourself. You have to know who and what you are. You got to understand, you got to feel yourself. And you'll know once you start feeling yourself when I'll say the intuition, when your intuition hits you and you're supposed to turn around, you'll know. It'll be like this weird, like, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this. And I know y'all have all felt that before. How many times you gone to a party, talk to a person, loan some money, went out of your way to do something to help somebody, and it turns to like bite you in the back. And you're like, dog, I know I should have listened to myself. I should have listened to that voice. I knew I shouldn't have done it. Every time you say I knew I shouldn't have, that was you talking to you. That was your higher self talking to your lower self saying, yo, chill out. Don't go that route. I already see where it's going. And you, the ego, went ahead and said, I think I'm going to do it anyway. And you go and do it anyway. And then you end up in a bigger bind than you needed to be in. And so let's look at how this transpires in relationships and other areas of life. So one area that this is huge on is relationships, man. Relationships, yo. When you sorry, I was about to yell at y'all. I'm sorry. That's the uncle in me that came out. When you are clear, when it's obvious, and you gotta stop looking for certain things and people. You gotta look at what's presented. And sometimes what's presented is not always just obvious, so you do have to dig beneath the surface. But for the most part, pay attention to patterns. It's obvious. Patterns are obvious. Now, recognizing a pattern can be a difficult skill to learn, but you have to increase your awareness to do that. So you need to be aware. You need to expand your awareness, and you got to pay attention to patterns. When it comes to relationship, the moment you see some of these things that are red flags, you need to address them. You need to dip. Address them or dip. And I'll be real with you. When I address certain things, my leeway is not very long. I'm gonna just tell you why. I don't have time to be playing with people, and I also don't want to change anybody. My goal is not to change you. Y'all got to get this out of your head that you need to change people, and they need to be what's best for them, and you don't know their situation all the time. You don't know the full story. Neither do you know where they're at developmentally. There's levels to development, y'all. Like, it's not just one way of looking at it. Like, people are complex. And when you understand that, you stop trying to fix people. Because people are fixing themselves through their own actions and decisions, and when they get tired of their BS, they'll change. I promise you. But they won't get tired if you don't get tired first, and you don't decide to put up a boundary and chunk deuce. You gotta learn to quit relationships. I won't say quit people, because people are awesome. They just got their own issues. But you gotta learn how to quit relationships. Learn to say, I'm done with the relationship, and don't look back. You learned what you needed to learn from that, and you keep moving forward. Some people may say this is cold. It's not cold. It's just honest. It saves you from wasting time. It saves you from wasting other people's times. And it saves a whole bunch of hidden animosity that doesn't need to be there. When you find yourself being passive, when you find yourself being aggressive, when you find yourself being passive aggressive, these are kind of indications that there's an issue in the relationship. And if you find a relationship is worth it, talk it out. Now, caveat as always, don't just talk stuff out just for things to go back, just to have the same conversation. If you're not going to implement boundaries and or enforce them. Ladies, this is really for you. This is really more for the ladies, because the fellas, is for you too, but I find this more often with ladies. Ladies get used and abused, and they're like, why did he use me? And he ain't this and he ain't that. And then, we turn back around and you're in the same relationship. Maybe with a different person, same thing. You got to have boundaries, and you have to enforce the boundaries. I was in that cycle too, y'all. So ladies, don't get offended. Fellas, don't just be laughing at the ladies, because y'all do it too. Y'all get in relationships where the female is using you, and you end up like being broke or spending all your money just to impress somebody, and you know in your mind like, yo, I don't have the money to sustain this lifestyle. What the heck? Learn when to quit stuff. Learn to cut people off and things off. That's one of the biggest ways to ascend and accelerate your growth. Cut stuff off that's not serving you. If all it does is take from you, if it drains you, if it pulls you down, yo, good day. Boom. I'm going to show you where it happens. Ready? So most people think this is the peace sign, right? It's up. No, this is incorrect. So with this sign, cut the relationship, and now you have peace, because this is peace, togetherness. You get it? So when you're in those relationships that you really don't want to be in anymore, you really doing this like, peace. You want to chunk deuce, right? So all you do is bring your peace together. You cut them off. That's all you got to do. Same thing with situations, If you're talking with somebody and you're not that close and you find that you're not resolving anything, just leave the conversation. Just leave. People, you recognize this, yo. Your biggest strength is your ability to decide. And one of the biggest ways and one of the most strongest ways of practicing and exercising your power is to walk away. Decide to leave. Decide to leave. What's holding you there? What's holding you in these situations that aren't serving you? Is it some sense of that you're a failure? Is it a sense that you're not worthy? Is it a sense that you're almost there? You're almost at a breakthrough? I can almost guarantee you, family, more often than not, you're not about to have a breakthrough. More often than not, you're about to get into a more complex problem. And you'll know, again, that comes down to discernment, but these processes are not, you shouldn't be seeing the same amount of pushback in every area of your life. You should not be getting pushback in every area of your life in the same fashion. If it is, that means you're doing things that aren't serving you. You're going to get pushbacks in some areas. Those are most likely, when it's an isolated incident, those are most likely the times where you're supposed to be persistent. But if it's an area of your life, you need to take some time and examine what is not serving you and what you are just addicted to, attached to, and learn to cut that attachment by chunking deuce. Chunk it up, cut it off, maintain your peace. This is important stuff, family. That's probably one of the biggest ways to get growth. Leave or stop entertaining things that don't serve you. Yeah, you need to be selfish sometimes. A lot of the times, be selfish. I know this is contrary to a lot of things. Be selfish. I'm going to tell you why you need to be selfish and cut stuff off. When you're not selfish, you're not getting what you need. And when you don't get what you need, what you give is less than optimal. Can't feed with an empty plate. Okay? Be selfish. Take what you need and then give back. I'm gonna tell you what happens when you're selfish. You get into a good relationship or a good situation, and how that operates, right? So when you're selfish and you say exactly what you want, exactly what you're willing to take, you'll find somebody who accepts that. You'll find somebody who wants the same things you want, and there's no games that you got to put together. You're like, wow, okay, that was awesome. The second thing that happens is that when you do things, they're typically appreciated more because you're doing them because you want to, not because you feel obligated, not because you feel pressured, or none of that. When you're selfish, you love people more genuinely. Yep. When you're selfish, you love people more genuinely. Simple stuff. Because you're doing things because you want to do them. That's it. Now, caveat again, you don't want to be too self-absorbed, but you want to be selfish. And let me explain how I view that difference. Self-absorbed is you are everything and only what you have or only what you want matters. That's self-absorbed. You're feeding yourself with your own stuff. Selfish, and notice the ish. See, when I think of ish, I think of like the idea of sometimes or somewhat or maybe even often, right? But it's not the entirety. And that's important. So when I say selfish, it's you are the most important, but you're not the only thing. Recognize that you're not the only thing when you're selfish. You're just the most important. And when you operate from that kind of level of understanding, when you give wholeheartedly because you know you're not pressured to do it. Like that's the biggest thing, y'all. So if you want to get to this kind of level, if you want to keep growing and ascending, you got to cut people off. Stop. Turn around, realize, recognize, yo, I went down the wrong path. Dang it, darn it. Walk. Walk back the other way. It's okay. You got the quote unquote walk of shame. Get over it because that walk of shame is a very large lesson that you need to learn from. And so next time you have to do a walk of shame, your walk of shame is maybe 2 feet instead of 3 miles. Because a lot of times people get fed up and that's when they decide to change. And once you fed up, you don't walk a lot longer than you need it to be to learn the lesson. So how about we learn the lessons immediately up front and we take corrective actions in the present instead of waiting till the future where damage is a lot harsher and it's a lot longer journey to overcome it. But yeah, y'all, that is the lesson for today. It's all about learning to stop, learning to quit. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to learn when to, throw the chips in, throw the towel in, wave the white flag and say, I'm done, I'm out of there. Family, this is a hard thing for you to accomplish. This is part of assertiveness as well. If this is something that you find difficulty doing and you'd like help, you'd like assistance, I always offer myself to you all. I want you to visit IALLG.com, hit the schedule tab at the top, and you'll be able to actually book a time with me and we'll talk and we'll cover 3 things on that conversation. Number 1 is where you're at right now. What are you trying to build? What are your goals? Number 2 is where do you want to go? What's your aspiration? What's your future looking like for you? And number 3, we'll go ahead and see if what I have to offer you will actually benefit you for the best. I'm not a believer in giving you a false hope. If I feel like I can actually help, I will. And if I don't think that I can, I'll recommend you somebody else. But with that being said, this is Brother 𝐁𝐫𝐨𝐬 at IALLG.com. We're always building bridges within to explore the world without. Peace.